This is, of course, Dave Harrison. And Dave, you brought somebody, you surprised me with somebody.
This is Blake. Blake works at the Soil and Water District Office in Morrison. He took my place as actually you're covering 3 different positions, right?
Yeah, right now I'm kind of the only employee they got there. I mean, as for kind of work, I mean, it just kind of covers mostly everything. I mean, so, yeah.
So, Blake, what's your background? How'd you get interested in this?
So basically, I grew up here in Clinton, and I generally have had kind of my dad brought me fishing, stuff like that, some general kind of outdoorsy stuff, and I kind of got interested in kind of like species identification, stuff like that. So then I went to Clinton Community College, kind of just got an associate's out there, but then I went out to University of Northern Iowa, and I eventually got into the environmental resource management major. So then I did a lot of stuff with like I'd say like geology, hydrology. I guess there was also like some other just general species identification classes like mammalogy and entomology of bugs and mammals, stuff like that.
A lot of ologies.
Yeah, all the studies of, so, yep.
So how'd you end up with Whiteside County?
I basically have just been searching for jobs. I graduated in December of 24. So after that, I just kind of kept looking for jobs, or December of 23, I'm not too sure. My dates are all mixed up. But so I basically went out searching for jobs, and then about 6 months later, during June, I found the ad on Facebook for the Whiteside County Soil and Water. So it just kind of was there. I applied for it and got it. So, I mean, it was just kind of a good timing thing, more so.
How much of a mentor is that guy there to your right?
Oh, he's supplied much information, a lot of information to me. I kind of am trying to absorb it all, but I mean, it's a lot to take on. So, I mean, he's been there for a very long time. So, I mean, it's kind of impossible to have all that knowledge just kind of put over. So
Dave, does Blake remind you of a young Dave Harrison at all? Or?
A little bit, yeah. He's got a similar background. He went to a junior college. That's good. And University of Northern Iowa is a great school to go for natural resources. So yeah, and he's very capable.
So let's get into the program. I see birds are still active.
Yeah. If you go out early in the morning, it's like a symphony. The turkeys are even gobbling, the hens are clucking away. And then, every songbird in the world starting, early in the morning, usually you hear cardinals and catbirds especially. But the orioles are back. Right now, we've got orchard orioles and Baltimore orioles in our backyard. And I would expect the Baltimores are starting to nest. We've got some really big bur oaks, and they nest on the end of those big branches. So they've been coming in. It's just amazing what's flitting around right now. So it's a great time to bird watch if you don't mind the gnats. The gnats are back too. So
I agree with you. I get to work. I go out the door at about 4:45, and it's pretty loud out there. So the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. He always comes up.
I know. I always try to stump Gary.
Yeah.
Well, I got involved in kind of a nasty incident down in the middle of the state of Illinois about 2 weeks ago. I was driving down there for my grandson's graduation, the last one, sob. And as I was going, if you're familiar with Bloomington, Illinois, routes Illinois 74 and 55 come together just west of Bloomington. And it's like 6 lanes of, just jammed usually. And about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, all of a sudden, everybody stops. And I've never seen this. And I sat on an overpass for almost 45 minutes. And finally we started going. And right before 74 and 55 come together and come apart, there's an off-ramp. And they were trying to get as many people up that off-ramp as they could. And then I slowly, crept forward on 74 again. And I was going to Downs, Illinois, which is a tiny little village just south of Bloomington. That's where, my daughter lives with my husband and everybody. And there were 3 police cars across the eastbound lanes towards Champaign. I thought, oh boy. And what had happened, my wife sent me a text finally and said there was a huge dust storm down there. So what the state police were trying to do is get people off the highway temporarily, and unfortunately there was a big pile up between Bloomington and Champaign. And they took pictures of it, and it looked like one of those big wall clouds where a tornado comes out of, but it was dust. And if I remember right, the wind got up to almost 70 miles an hour that day. So it was just a reminder that even on flat ground, you can have erosion, and it can be really, really dangerous. And that highway was closed for, I think, like 12 hours. They were trying to get cars out of there and, get stuff
I've
rearranged again.
seen documentaries on the Dust Bowl back in the 30s, and it was just amazing. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
just a blanket of dust
And that's
coming
how
your
this
way.
was too. And it even got as far north as Chicago. There were people complaining about it that day in Chicago. And the last time there was like a nationwide dust storm like that, Hugh Hammond Bennett went into Congress and told them, we need funding to get cover on these acres so this doesn't happen again. And the trick he used is, it was pretty primitive back in the 30s, no air conditioning. So what he did is he went around before he spoke and he opened all the windows, and all this dust came flying in. And he got the legislation passed to start the Soil Conservation Service. And it just reminds you that you got to leave some cover out there, folks. It's very tempting when it's dry out. We've had a fairly dry spring up until now, to go out and make one more pass, do a little bit more tillage. And that's just a good example where people were physically injured because of the soil erosion. And you don't think of Illinois as a big dust, or wind erosion state, but it's out there. Even locally around Erie, if we don't have a lot of snow and they work those fields in the fall, the top 5 or 6 inches really dries out, and a lot of that soil's high organic, and when it dries, it moves. When we get a 30, 40 mile an hour wind even, you'll have a situation like that where you can't see. So, it's dangerous. And
It is interesting. I started my radio career in Taylorville, Illinois.
Oh, I'm very familiar with it.
And I could not believe how flat it is down in that area.
Right.
I mean, it'd be like me looking out and being able to see Elvira.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the problem, is there's nothing to stop the wind anymore. A lot of those fence rows we used to have are gone. So once that wind kicks up, it's like a broom sweeping everything clean. And if you can leave a little bit of residue or have a cover crop out there, that's the key. And that leads me to another topic. The Soil and Water District is having a cover crop program.
Yeah. So basically, we're having a free cover crop program. We're teaming up with the University of Illinois Extension. They basically supply everything, and we kind of bring it to the office for the people. It's basically they're trying to get people into, like, newer farmers, stuff like that, into cover crops. But in general, you basically just kind of call the office. We get you signed up. We ask you a few questions, and then, when the day comes, you come get your free cover crop seed in 50-pound bags. You can have 2 choices, either rye or an oat and turnip mix. So, yeah, I mean, just kind of call us, let us know if you want to sign up. Otherwise, it's always good to plant your cover crops.
For a city boy, cover crops, you mentioned the 2 different varieties there. 50-pound bag, how much of an area are we talking about that would take care of?
About an acre. Usually.
Okay, really?
So,
all right.
Yeah.
A little bit more than what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what they have it as, usually a pound, a bag per acre. I guess that's what the general rule. But
So how do you spread that out then? I mean, machinery, what do we got there? You don't go out with your hand, do you, Dave? And
I've
scatter it?
actually done that on
You have
small
scattered
plots.
as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
smaller.
Yeah, smaller plots you can't. Well, with technology comes progress, supposedly. There's a couple guys in Whiteside County now using drones. The drones are big enough to carry loads of cover crop and, just do it by air.
Interesting.
And that's a good way to do it because you don't have to worry about, running over crops. Hopefully when it falls from a distance like a drone, it also gets through any leaf cover that still might be in there, through the soybeans or corns. But you can, sometimes you can use something called a high boy that has big wheels on it and actually runs in the rows, but it doesn't run any of the crop over, except maybe on the ends.
So Blake, again, when can they get this?
Basically, they can call any time from now, but the deadline would be August 1st to sign up.
Okay.
So,
And the phone number?
815-772-2124, extension 3.
Okay, where's your office at again?
Morrison, Illinois. The address is 400 Wilkins Drive.
Okay, and what are your hours there, Blake?
I'm there till 7:30 till 4, but I mean, generally you could probably call till 4:30, and then they'll leave me a message
Okay.
until the next day, and then I can work on it.
We're not going to get to every one of your points here.
I didn't think we would.
Because we got like
All right.
4 minutes left here.
I know.
So what are the main ones you want to get here in?
The number 7, there's going to be some changes in nuisance permits for deer in Illinois. At least I believe there will be. There was a bill it came out of southeastern Illinois, and there were some farm groups that really were hot on this topic about damage to the crops from deer. And I believe it went through the House already in Springfield and is at the Senate, or vice versa, one of the two. But what it would do is allow more nuisance doe permits, more hunters getting in an easier process to get antlerless tags, and more antlerless tags for youth season too. And the whole goal is to reduce the herd down there. How much it will impact in the northwest part of Illinois, I don't know. I'm not sure yet until it actually gets to the Senate and the governor either signs it or doesn't sign it. It would also make the process of getting nuisance permits easier. Instead of the biologist or the CPO, who's the conservation officer, coming out and inspecting the thing, basically, once you get a baseline of how many deer you took off of the first year when you got nuisance permits, they would actually increase the number you'd get based on that or lower it. So it'd be an easier process, basically. Right now it gets a little complicated. I think you're limited to 10. But, yeah, and it can be an issue. You know, I know some farmers have, especially the first 10 rows in a wooded area, between the deer, the squirrels, the turkeys, whatever else is, the raccoons, they can clean most of the crop out along a timber. And, you know, you look at the price of inputs these days, and the price of corn isn't real high. And they can come in and just basically wipe you out. And I always told people, before you do the nuisance permitting thing, is, you know, allow somebody, either you or your family or somebody you trust, to go in there and actually hunt them. And take it from there. And that was one of the things they would ask you, too. Do you allow hunting on your property? And if you said no, more than likely you wouldn't get the permit.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's going to be in there or not, but look out for some changes in the nuisance process coming up.
So we got time for one more point.
One more?
Which one's it going to be?
Let's do number 9.
Okay.
My favorite topic.
Yeah.
Poison ivy. I mean, that stuff is all over right now. And I am seeing changes in the way it's growing. It's starting to grow more like a shrub or a small tree. It still vines out, but, you know, I'm finding it everywhere, in grass fields, prairie fields, and normally you didn't see that. And I talked to a couple other people that are about my age, and they're saying the same thing. That, you know, they're walking out in the middle of a prairie field, and all of a sudden they'll find a bed of poison ivy growing out there, which is really, really unusual. You know, because a lot of those fields are burned, and you wouldn't expect it there. And when I was a kid, I never saw it in grass fields, ever. You know, I'd find it drawn up the side of a tree, up the side of a building, or in the woods, but I very seldom saw it in a grass field. Now you can find it everywhere. There's an opinion out there in the science community that it's being stimulated by a warmer climate. And it
I
could
could
be.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, so watch out for it. Calamine lotion does work if you don't want to use something from, you know, the drugstore. You can go to the doctor, get shots, or oatmeal. If you make a puree of oatmeal, that works pretty well too. So
Just remember, leaves of 3, leave
Let
them
it
be.
be.
Yeah,
That's
there
right.
you go. Leaves of 5, let them thrive. Very good. Blake, nice to meet you. You're going to be coming in most of the time, or what? Your
Yeah, well,
special guest appearance, or what?
Yeah, we'll try and see what happens. I mean, yeah, I mean, with being the only employee, I don't know. Depends on the days. I don't know.
he's
We'll
got
see.
the radio voice
So-
going too.
Yes, he
You know,
does.
so-
Very, very good. Well, thanks so much. We'll talk to you in a couple. In the second week, I guess it's
Yeah,
going
I
to
know.
be
What is that?
July 8th. Put that on your calendar, Dave.
I will.
All right.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.9.
And KROS